I used to think shooting in the Alpine or shooting up on El Cap was difficult, but water is an entirely different beast. For some reason, we didn't really talk about that before we started making this film.
Hi, I'm Chai Vasarhelyi.
And I'm Jimmy Chen.
We are the directors of Nyad, and today we're going to be breaking down one of our favorite scenes from the film.
This is notes on a scene.
Look over there.
Make it up,
Look over there. You see that?
Getting out of...
You see that? The horizon? Look at the horizon. You see it?
Is it the sun?
No. That's not the sun, babe. Those are the lights of Key West.
Most of this water work was filmed in a tank in the Dominican Republic. It's a film stage. And it's a very, very large pool, which is about 4 feet deep everywhere except for the very middle, which is about 20 feet deep. It's surrounded by blue screen, except for one side, which is an infinity pool, which you can see out to the ocean. So if there were no visual effects on this, you would see a blue screen basically like that at the edges of the pool. And then because we had those blue screens up, we were able to put in, Key West, as well as the night sky that's all up here.
That's it. That's it. You're never going to put that mask on again.
Before we even started filming, we knew we had all these night scenes. And so when we designed the boat, we had a lighting designer go through. We knew we needed a light on Bonnie. We knew we needed lights to illuminate inside the cabin. Here's lights. But the biggest thing was that we knew that John Bartlett, the actual navigator, had created an LED lane so that Diana could swim as perfectly of a straight line parallel to the boat as possible. He had these LED lanes built that we could adjust on a dimmer. And that was huge because that allowed us to have like a key light underwater. When Diana's swimming at night, you could actually see her face. So we built a giant platform that basically parallels the boat. And on it, we had 2 huge dollies, one holding a 70-foot techno crane and another one holding a 50-foot techno crane. We were able to kind of shoot all these different angles, especially down low along the water. We had this thing called a hydra head where you could actually get it into the water. Pete Zuccarini, who is literally like Neptune, he would go underwater and swim the length of this tank without coming up for air. And he would literally swim back and forth underneath, filming with his camera setup.
It's like Merman. Except for he wouldn't really have a snorkel.
No, he'd have one, but he
wouldn't use it.
Yeah, he wouldn't use it.
He just wouldn't use it.
Goggles. All right.
Annette was really clear in her intention to show a 64-year-old woman as a real person. And so Diana actually achieved her swim when she was 64, and Annette was 64 when she played the part. And Annette insisted on having absolutely no touch-ups, no, VisFX touch-ups to her body or to her face, except for when we had to show the extreme kind of effect of 40 hours in the water on your face and your body. And Annette's wearing probably 4 hours of makeup to get her face that swollen. We had a few makeup looks, which were like 17 hours in the water, 30 hours in the water, 50 hours in the water, and then jellyfish. That was its own thing. We had a really, really talented prosthetics person. His name's Cori Castellano. And he worked with Annette to figure out, to fit the prosthetics. And so basically Annette had prosthetics here and here in her cheeks, and then also in her lips right here. And then she would sometimes use a piece of gauze inside her bottom lip, which was her idea. This prosthetic situation took, at its heaviest, was 4 hours. And when you look at the lips and the idea of an actor being able to perform with that heavy of a prosthetic, it's really impressive.
Come up. That's it. That's it.
In terms of performance, it's extraordinary. And Annette had already been, it was probably 2:00 in the morning, and Annette had already been in the water.
A lot of it also has to do with the fact that this film is really about building and showing this friendship between Bonnie and Diana.
It's really interesting because you would assume that 2 Hollywood veterans like Jodie Foster and Annette Bening would have been longtime friends. And they actually were just acquaintances. They'd never acted together. It was still the pandemic. So they got to know each other kind of one-on-one with the real Bonnie Stoll and the real Diana Nyad. And they all lived in LA, and they kind of had their own thing that they were doing. And I think that's where they began to develop this very close friendship. And like, we were quite a small crew of actors. Like, we were not a huge set production wise, but not in terms of acting talent. And because of the pandemic, it was quite isolated. I do believe that Annette and Jodie fostered a real friendship. And they also felt, I think, together a great responsibility towards the real people they were playing.
I think one of the things about the relationship between Annette and Jodie that was really beautiful to experience and watch was just the level of respect, mutual respect they had for each other. Jodie clearly signed on to this film, not only because she loved the script, but I think she really genuinely wanted to work with Annette. And I think it was, that was reciprocal.
Diana, look at me. I need you to look at me.
No,
Look at me.
it's over. No, did we drift? No. I can make it up.
I used to think shooting in the Alpine or shooting up on El Cap was difficult, but water is an entirely different beast. For some reason, we didn't really talk about that before we started making this film.
I mean, I think that was the privilege of being first-time fiction filmmakers.
We were clueless.
In that, you know, we're just so used to, as nonfiction filmmakers, of extreme situations, like just making do.
Our first day on set, we have a 450 person crew.
I think that was the hardest part.
Everybody's standing there. We take our first shot. We are told that there's not enough time for us to take a boat out to the boat to give notes, that we're gonna have to get on a microphone and scream notes at Jodie Foster as our very first 10 minutes on set in front of 450 people. We had to get over it really quickly, but I mean, it was just one of those moments where we looked at each other and we were just like,
Come up. That's it. That's it.
I remember when Diana finally achieved her swim in 2013. And I remember following that just as like a human interest story and being very moved by this idea of a woman who's 64 years old, who's able to kind of achieve her dreams and fight to achieve her dreams. Anna Barnes, who runs our company, I was telling them about the script I read and like, and then this happened, and then this happened. It really happened. Then they're the jellyfish, then they're the sharks. And Jimmy looked at me. He's like, this sounds like something we would like to make. We'd been hoping for a film, looking for a film which had at its center a very strong female relationship, because most of our work had been about male protagonists. And this is a story about friendship between two gay women of a certain age and one woman who has got this audacious dream and is not willing to give up no matter what.
And a very complicated character. Mm-hmm. We wanted to make something that a film and a story that you haven't seen before. That was always something that I think we talked about.
After Free Solo won the Oscar, we understood that we have a certain platform, at least in nonfiction. It just has to move the needle a little bit. It has to make the world just a tiny bit better. Otherwise, let's make a great rom-com. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're going to put in the work, and we're going to always put in the work, it has to have some meaning, and it has to speak to us both personally, that's the kind of special sauce of the Venn diagram, and we both agree.